Today we're going to talk about factoring by grouping, okay? And what it means, grouping is just a way that we can factor polynomials. We group the polynomial and look for common, or GCFs, common factors. Okay, so we're going to do 6 examples today, okay? When you're grouping, there are 4 total terms. You have 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so when you're grouping, you take the first 2 and you put parentheses around them. Then you take the back 2 and put parentheses around them. Okay? And then you factor out the GCF out of each one. Typically, it's going to be a letter. Sometimes there's a number involved. Okay, so in the first set of parentheses, they both have an x. The smallest x we have is this x squared here. So we're going to take that x squared and we're going to move it outside, like so. Okay, in this polynomial here, since it had 3, we took 2 away. We have 1 left. And since we took out that x squared there, we have plus 2. The second polynomial, we always will typically take out a number. So we look for a number that goes into both 3 and 6, and that number would be 3. But since this number is negative, we have to take out a negative 3. Since it took out negative 3, what's left is x, and then negative 6 divided by negative 3 is positive 2. What you notice is this parenthesis and this parenthesis are the exact same. So what we do is we take that set of parentheses and write it once. Then we take a second set of parentheses which is here and here, and we combine those into a parenthesis like so. Once we do that, this is our final answer. So that's factoring by grouping. Okay, let's do the second one. Again, take the first 2 terms, group them together. Take the last 2 terms, group them together. Okay, the first term you always will take out a letter. They both have an x, your smallest one being this x here, so we're going to move that out. Since that had 3 and we took 1 away, we now have 2, and then the plus 4 from the original goes there. The second one, we take out a number always. And so remember, this number here is 1. So 1 and 4, the number that goes into them is positive 1. What's left is x squared plus 4, because 4 divided by 1 is 4. And again, we take the 2 parentheses that are the same. We combine them and write them once. We take the second set of parentheses and we combine them into 1 parenthesis. And once you have your 2 parentheses, that's your final answer. Okay, we're going to do it again. Take the first 2 terms, group them together. Take the last 2 terms, group them together. Okay, always take out the smallest letter. They both have an x, but this is an x squared, so we're going to take that out. Okay, and there's a 1 there that we need that. Okay, we break down the 2, since it had 3 x's, we took 2 away, we now have 1. This one, since it had 2 x's, we now have just a number of 1. On this one, we always take out a number. What's a number that goes into 5 and 10? And it's 5, but because this 10 is negative, we put it as negative 5. Okay, negative 10 divided by negative 5 is positive 2, and we still have that x. And then 5 divided by negative 5 is negative 1. Okay, you should have the parentheses the same. Remember, if they're not the same, that means you've done something wrong. So we now write that once. The other parenthesis, again, will come from what's left, which is this and this, and we combine it into 1 parenthesis, x squared minus 5. And once you have those 2 parentheses, you are done. Okay, let's do it again. First two terms here. We write parentheses around. That's not a parenthesis. Parentheses. Last two terms there. Okay, first two we typically pull out a letter. They both have an A, so we're going to pull out an A. Since we took out one A, now it's just B, and this is just 2. Second one, we took out a number. What's a number that goes into 8 and 16? And it's positive 8. That leaves me with just a B, and 16 divided by 8 leaves me with 2. These are both the same, so we're going to take this one and this one, and we always write it once. And then we take whatever's left over and combine it into one parenthesis. And since we have now 2 parentheses, that's our final answer. We'll do it again. First group 2, group them together. Last 2, group them together. They both have an X, so we're going to pull out an X. What's left is Y minus 6 out of the first one. The second one, what's the number that goes into 6 and 36? That's positive 6. That leaves me with just a Y, and then 36 divided by 6 is 6. Okay, your parentheses are the same, so you take them and write them once. Whatever's left over, you combine into one parenthesis. And now that you have 2, there's your final answer. Okay, your last one is these 2. And then you do the last 2. Okay, because this has numbers and letters, you need a number that comes out. What number goes into 9 and 45? It's 9. And then they both have an R, so we're going to pull an R out. That leaves me with just S minus, and 45 divided by 9 is 5. And then we always do a number there. What number goes into 7 and 35? It would be 7. Okay, but because this 7 is negative, we're going to make it a negative 7. That will leave me with 5s minus 5, because 35 divided by 7 is 5. That now gives me these two parentheses the same. S minus 5. And then whatever's left over, which is this 9R and this negative 7, they combine into one set of parentheses. And now that I have my 2, that's my final answer. We are done.